Welcome to the No Guilt Fangirls podcast, where liking what you like is never a bad thing. Here's your host and head fangirl in charge, Patty Holiday.
Hey y'all, I'm Patty Holiday, your host and head fangirl in charge. And today we are finally going to jump into one of my biggest fandoms. I mean, it's crazy that it's taken this long to get here, but this is literally like so big, such a big fandom for me that the girl who walked, the presidential mile run every year in school actually became a runner just so I could continue to be part of the community. It is such a big part of my life that I began blogging because of this fandom. I became a travel agent and opened my own agency in order to get more people on board with this fandom and get them to experience what I experience when I head to a race weekend. I mean, it's basically my life, right? So yeah, we're finally going to jump into the Run Disney fandom and the Run Disney community. And specifically, we are going to talk about Run Disney Paris, because my guest who just got back from Run Disney Paris is Sarah, and she's gonna tell all. She's gonna tell us everything we need to know about heading out there next year. Hey, Sarah.
Hey.
So you guys have met Sarah before. It's a long time, one of my favorite people in the entire world. This is Sarah Bergman. She is the owner of Park and Preston Travel, another agency that specializes in all things Run Disney. So this is why we love each other so much. She is a fellow huge Run Disney fangirl. Sarah and I met through our love of Run Disney, and then we worked together for years, again, trying to get people to come to all these races with us. And it's been a blast. Now, Sarah, where can people find you on social media?
I pretty much live on Instagram. My handle over there is Hi Ho Sarah, and that's Heigh Ho Sarah.
And that's because it's like hi ho, hi ho.
It's off to run we go.
Exactly. I love it. I think it's the cutest thing.
I'm so into it these days. I've been buying everything with hi ho on it and anything Snow White. I think my husband's going to kill me. But yeah, you can find me at Hi Ho Sarah. And then the agency is Park and Preston on Instagram, but I don't really post a whole lot over there. All of the fun stuff is over on my personal account.
And she's so cute and she's so fun. And the fun fact about Sarah is there's never, I think we've come up with like 3 bad pictures ever of you. But every other picture, Sarah's just adorable. So give her a follow because she's a lot of fun.
Speaking of bad pictures, I've got one coming tomorrow.
Awesome.
I've got one coming tomorrow. Get excited.
I can't wait. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your general fandoms. Obviously Disney, because
Disney is my biggest fandom. My general fandoms it'd be Disney and the parks. Disney parks is a big one for me. All of them. And now that I've been to Paris, I've even more so need to get to Asia. But Disney parks, Run Disney is a huge one of mine. And then thanks to you, you can throw Marvel in there, which I know we've talked about before.
Yep.
But that's pretty much it. It's pretty much anything under that Disney umbrella has got me bad.
Which is Sarah also went to D23 Expo with me for the first time. And so that was why, because, everything that was Disney was there and we had to absorb and totally get into it. And so that this is why we're friends. This is why we work so well together. Okay. So tell me about Run Disney. Tell me a little bit about your very first Run Disney experience. How did you discover it? How did you decide to do this? Like, how did all that come about for you?
It's kind of a really long story, but
all right, we'll make it short.
I'm going to cut it down. I struggled with infertility for many, many years. And during that process, I told myself that I was going to run a half marathon to prove to myself that my body could do whatever I wanted it to do. And so I started looking into where I could run and what could be cool and what could be a neat goal race in mind. And that's when I found Run Disney. And I'd been a Disney fan my entire life, but hadn't been out there in forever. So I go to my dad. I was like, hey, there's a half marathon at Disney World and it's during this food and wine festival. Do you want to do it with me? And he was on board. And we ran together and trained and planned. And that is when it really struck that Run Disney was the greatest thing of all time. After that race, I was registered for Wine and Dine. Before I even ran it, I registered for Tinkerbell with some of my girlfriends who also were into Run Disney. And it snowballed from there.
And by snowball, we mean you started a travel agency because you wanted to be so much a part of this. Well, and you sold Run Disney. Exactly. So here we are.
You fast forward a few years and I was pregnant with my first finally, and didn't want to go back to work at the law firm I was working at. And I sat down and I go, how can I spend time with my kid and go to all the Run Disney races? And I knew that travel agents did something with races. And I was like, I guess I'll be a travel agent. And here I am, 6 years later.
I know. It's crazy. And, that was actually how we kind of met is our other friend, Hi-Ho Megan on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Megan said, hey, Sarah, you should follow this girl's blog. She writes all about Run Disney. And being a travel agent wasn't on my agenda at the time, but that's how you and I ended up meeting and collaborating. And then I became an agent under you. And now here I am doing my own thing, at No Guilt Travel. And so it changes lives. I mean, when we guys, we can be so dorky about this subject because Sarah and I are both so passionate about what Run Disney and the community has done for us. So don't mind us. We get a little weepy over all the ways that Run Disney has changed our lives. But yeah, so for me, it came about that we were trying to lose the baby weight with, after I had my son, Seth, there's a bunch of us online, a bunch of girlfriends of mine online. And so we all started running and, we were doing like 5Ks. I think I had run one 10K at that point. And one of the girls said, hey guys, I'm kind of thinking we should step it up and we should do a half marathon. And even better, we should do it together. So let's go travel to this half marathon. And I vividly remember telling Summer that she could go pound sand and that was never going to happen. And the half marathon was ridiculous. And no. And she said, oh, well, because I was looking at this one and she dropped a link for the Princess Half Marathon at Walt Disney World. And I clicked that link and I signed up immediately. And I said, oh yeah, I guess I'm training for a half marathon now because I was all in, all in.
That's awesome. It's great.
Yeah. So that's our love of Run Disney. We are, so we also wanted to talk about this. So Sarah and I and Megan are doing something on Instagram. As Sarah mentioned before that she kind of lives over there. I am trying to move in. I like Instagram, but I don't love it as much as some people. However, this month,
I'll tell you what, I'll help you move into Instagram and post more if you can teach me the Twitter.
Of course. You know how much I love Twitter. So yes, this is a good deal. So we are doing hashtag 30 days of Run Disney. That's the hashtag. Hashtag 30 days of Run Disney on Instagram. You can find me at No Guilt Life and you can find Sarah at Hi-Ho Sarah and Megan at Hi-Ho Megan, and Megan is Meghan. And and Sarah has an H. Ew. But follow us, tag us, use that hashtag. We have a different prompt every day. What's your favorite prompt that's coming up? Do you have one?
My favorite one, it's funny. I'm actually really excited about the swag, the Run Disney swag one and the shirts, because I'm actually right now wearing my favorite Run Disney shirt. And it's not an actual Run Disney shirt. It's one that was made by a friend. And it's my favorite ever. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And so you have to wait. And that's towards the end of the month too. So you got to wait a while.
We do have to wait a bit till we get to that one. I think I throw a little bit of shade at my favorite one that's coming up is Dream Race, because we had my Dream Race,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But they took it away. Yeah, I know you know. You were there. You know what I mean. So anyway, we're having some fun on Instagram. If you guys want to jump over there and follow us, that's again, hashtag 30 days of Run Disney. This is going to be going on for the entire month of October. So feel free to come on over and join in the fun. And, if you don't have a Run Disney picture to share. It's cool. Like share anything with Disney, or if you're interested in Run Disney, there's also going on hashtag 30 days of WDW. Our friend Jane is kind of doing that for the month of October. So if you're a Disney person, but you're not necessarily a Run Disney person yet, because we're going to try to change your mind on that, then you can follow Jane at Real Mousewife WDW. She's been on the podcast a zillion times. You guys know Jane. And she's got that going on as well. So Disney peeps, we got you covered for the month of October, one way or the other. Let's do some Disney pics over on Instagram and have some fun with it. All right. So now we're going to talk about Run Disney Paris. Sarah just got back. Run Disney Paris is like the official kickoff of the Run Disney race season. It's the first race that happens every year. And then the rest of the races kind of fall behind. And Sarah went for the first time. She just got back. So she's only been to this race weekend once, but I know she's like basically already booked herself for the next 2 Run Disney Paris weekends. Is that right? Or did you just decide on the one?
I'm absolutely booked for the 5th anniversary. I'm on the fence for Paris or for the Princess one in May. I'm still trying to find a buddy to go to that.
Gotcha.
I'm also still trying to find a buddy for September, which I'm still going to try to make you come with me. I'm going to try to, I'm still trying to make that happen. But yeah, for sure in September and maybe May.
Yeah, I so want to go to one or the other. I just,
it's a lot.
Just the timing of it all. It's a lot. It's a lot. But we're going to talk about why this is exciting and why this is maybe a really cool option for people to go and do. Now, we mentioned 2 races. One, Run Disney Paris has announced a Princess Weekend race. This is going to be May 8th through 10th. And what are the race distances, Sarah? Because it's not the traditional.
It is not the traditional. It is a 5K and an 8K. And so if you are planning on doing Castle to Chateau, this would not be the weekend for you because there is not a half marathon. Now, they may announce something at some point of something special for doing both Paris and USA, but at this time there's not. And so if you want that Castle to Chateau medal, you're going to want to wait until September.
That's a very important point because I know people were thinking they were going to go do Princess Weekend, but then when they pulled back and they told us what races there were. Now for me, because I don't do the half marathons anymore, I'm like looking at that May weekend going, that would be really perfect for me because the 5K and an 8K, I'm all in. I can handle both of those.
One of the nice things about this race weekend as well is, and that's what I'm trying to convince my mom to come and do it with me, is you don't get an option for a challenge medal unless you run a half marathon at any race weekend ever. And there's a challenge medal for doing both. And so it gives an opportunity to people that are not into the 13.1 to do a Run Disney challenge. So that's pretty cool.
Right. No, that's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, so the Princess Weekend sounds great. The other weekend is in September, and that is going to be the 24th through the 27th, 2020. And that's the 5th anniversary, and that's what Sarah just got back from, basically, was that weekend. What are all of the races that are offered during that race weekend?
It's pretty cool. It's the traditional 5, 10, and half. However, they have 2 challenges. So you can do the 5, the 10, or the half, or you can do the 31K challenge, which is the traditional Run Disney USA challenge with the 5 and the 10. Then they also have the 36K challenge, which is all 3 races. So it's kind of Paris's version of Dopey. If you do the 36K, you get the 5K, the 10K, the half medal, the 31K challenge medal, and the 35K challenge medal. So there's a way to do, like, if you do all the races, which most of us do, you get an extra medal.
And you also get your Castle to Chateau medal if you run a half marathon or marathon stateside, as well as the half marathon over there. So you guys can go home with a lot of medals is what we are saying, basically. Yeah. So that's an option. That's an option. Now I want to point out something that we don't do here at Run Disney stateside, but you do have to do if you're going overseas, and that's the medical forms. But I think, am I correct in saying that it's only for the half marathon runners, like the 5 and the 10K? If you don't have to have this medical form, but if you're doing the half marathon, Paris wants to ask you not to die on them. And so they have a doctor fill out a form. So can you tell me a little bit about what that looks like or how that process worked for you this
year?
Pretty
simple. The process for me this year actually was awful. But that was my own situation. It had nothing to do with Run Disney or the form itself.
Okay.
It's a simple form that your general practitioner can fill out that basically just says that you're fit enough to race. It's a pretty standard thing that they do in Europe for races. My problem was I moved right around the time that this form was ready and needed to be filled out. And so I was in a new city and had to establish a relationship with a doctor and get in. And everybody knows with healthcare that can take some time. I did get one filled out actually by my doctor at home, but there is also an online thing that you can fill out that costs a little bit of money. And that's what I did. I think it ended up costing me about $80. And I wish I had it sitting in front of me so I could say what it was. We can put it in the show notes. I'll get it to you, Patty, after all of this, but it's just kind of an online thing that basically you fill out and they give you the form, and I submitted it and it was accepted like within 10 minutes. I mean, it's a piece of cake. So it's a little nerve-wracking when you do it because you're like, what am I doing? This is all new to me. But I had a copy of that and then a copy of my other form in case there was any issues when I got there, and they never even asked. So it's a pretty simple process.
Okay. So that doesn't sound as scary as I was thinking it was.
And really, it's just the doctor just signs off, says, yeah, you're fit enough to run a half marathon. That's it.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay. Awesome. Now, you book your tickets, you show up in Paris, and what do you do next? How do you, because Disneyland Paris is on the outskirts. It's not in the middle of the city of Paris. So how do you get from the airport to
There are a couple of different options. There's the train called the TGV, which is what we ended up taking. That's literally you get on the train at the airport and you get off the train right outside of Disney Village. It's very easy. Tickets are not too expensive depending on the class you get. I think they start at maybe around 20 or 25 US dollars. And you just wait for the train, you get on, it's like a 10-minute train ride and you're there. It's very simple. You can take their version of the subway trains. It's like the RGBV, I believe it's called. But that involves changing trains in places. That was a little overwhelming to me.
Okay.
So we skipped that. You can take a taxi, which is another pretty easy way, but that I think can get kind of expensive depending on traffic. And then they also have the Magic Shuttle, which is a bus. It is very straightforward. There are signs on the airport to help you find it pretty easily. We decided against that because it can take up to an hour and a half. And we were like, that seems like a long time to be on a bus. So we went into the train, and It's pretty simple. We had just missed the train when we got there to get our ticket. So our wait was a little bit longer than we would have liked. But once we were on, it's a piece of cake.
Okay. So it doesn't sound, you have options like you would pretty much anywhere. But it doesn't sound like it's too hard to get from point A to point B. So
And everything is in English too. So, and most everybody will speak English. So that was the big thing I was worried about, is not being able to communicate. And everybody was great.
Awesome. Okay. Now, when you get to the parks, as for a Run Disney race weekend, I get the feeling, and this is based on, everybody's feedback, but I want to hear it from you. Do you agree that staying on site, particularly if you are an American coming out and you're maybe not familiar with the French countryside, staying on site is worth maybe paying a little bit extra for the proximity and for getting back and forth for the races?
100%.
Is that an accurate? Okay. 100%. All right. Awesome.
No, I 100%. I know there are some off-property hotels, and one of the packages that I book includes this one resort, which is really cool. It's called the Villages Nature. It's a super cool resort, and it's very close, but you do have to work with your own transportation. And since that is something that freaks me out, I choose to, I'm going to stay on property. I want to walk. I want to walk everywhere. So that works.
Yeah. I looked at that resort just yesterday, and it looks fantastic and amazing, but I don't know that I would recommend that for a Run Disney race because of the transportation. Just like you said, you want to be able to walk if you need to, or to know that the hotel, the resort that you're staying at is offering that transportation, just like they do stateside. So almost everything I think at Paris is walkable. It could be up to 20 minutes or so, right?
It can take a little bit of time. Some of the value resorts are a little bit further back out there, but it's all within walking distance. I would relate Run Disney Paris to be more like Disneyland, the Disney World. So everything's pretty much in one little area.
Got it. All right. Well, we know when you go to run, runners like to eat. Runners have to eat. Runners are all about the food. Talk to me about Disneyland Paris food, because I've heard some not so great.
We heard terrible things. Like, I would be like, we're going to Disneyland Paris. And they'd be like, that's awesome. The food sucks. People said first. And we were like, what? So we went in with really low expectations. But I think because we had low expectations, we were very pleasantly surprised. We ended up eating, they have an Earl of Sandwich in the Disney Village, which we ate at twice, I think. All of our meals that we had at table service restaurants were delightful. No complaints there. I had one wrap that I didn't like, but that's because I thought I had too much guacamole. It had nothing to do with the cooking itself. Like, everything was great for us.
Yeah, I saw, and I sent this picture to you, and you kind of laughed about it. I saw on Twitter that apparently, heads up, anybody heading to Disneyland Paris, if you have an allergy, if you have a food allergy, they take it super seriously over there. But unfortunately, that means you don't get a lot of options. It's not treated the same way as it is stateside. So what I saw was basically a microwaved meal with the plastic still on it, served to somebody at a nice fancy Paris restaurant, because they are not even allowed to remove the wrappings or anything if they have a gluten allergy or whatever their allergy was. And it didn't look that appetizing, guys. She didn't report back on how good or not it was, but I just want to give you a heads up. If you are a allergy person, definitely do some research and find out what your options are, because you might have a little bit of a struggle. Yeah,
I would agree with that. I will eat anything that's put in front of me unless it's a pickle. So I was fine. But if you're particularly picky or have an allergy, then definitely pay a little bit closer to attention to where you're going.
I hate laughing about the pickles because, like guys know, like ridiculously, she freaks out over the pickles. It's really funny. That's fair though. Everybody has their thing. I get it. Okay. Now, these races are also a little bit different as far as like the corralling system and how people are seated and even how proof of time works. So give us a little bit of rundown on all of that. I know that there were the first time they did this race, people freaked out because they were really fast runners, but they were put in the back of their corral. And at least for, I think it was the 5K that this was the first time it was noted, people realized that it's because it was done alphabetically, not by time. So as a Bergman, you might have been up front, but my maiden name is Wills. As a Wills, I would have been in the back, regardless of how fast I thought I would finish the 5K in or whatever. Has any of that changed, or did you still see some of that?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I don't think it's changed. I think they do have an elite area, but it's pretty slim. I kept asking people how they do corrals, and everybody kept telling me it's random. Mm-hmm. So that wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. I'm a B, and I was in corral B. My husband, who is a B, who was only doing the 5K, he was in C. So, and I registered him 5 minutes before I registered myself. Mm-hmm. So I do think that it could be more of a random thing. I've also heard challenge runners are put up first and then everybody else behind them. I'm not quite sure, but I do know and can say with 100% certainty that it is not really based on proof of time.
Okay.
So it's just kind of a crapshoot. You just show up and you run, and it can be kind of frustrating because when you get started, it's walkers and runners and everybody all jumbled together. Mm-hmm, so put your patient pants on and you'll be good.
Your patient pants. Runners are super known for their patient pants. So maybe that is something, though, to keep in mind for you fasters out there, is that it could be a little bit frustrating on that start. And that's just how Paris does it. So hopefully knowing that going in will at least help you be aware of the circumstances. There were lots of awesome characters. One of the things about Run Disney Paris is I love seeing the variety of characters that they pull out on the course. Mm-hmm. Was there anybody that you hadn't seen before that you just loved?
I got super excited when we were doing the 10K that Moana was out. I had not ever gotten to meet her or see her before. And so Moana was a big one for me. I took a selfie and texted it to my mom immediately to show my daughter. It was a big one. And then during the half, they had Melanie Ravenswood, who is the bride from Phantom Manor, which is their version of. And so they had some kind of cool, that was the coolest thing for me because I was like, okay, this is awesome. For the 5K, that was kind of super disappointing. The 5K picture lines were an hour wait, easy. Goodness. It was absolutely insane. And so my husband and I, we didn't stop for any of the pictures on the 5K just because the waits were so long. And what was kind of a bummer is that the 5K was themed to Lion King, but there was no Lion King on the course at all. Like no Rafiki, no nothing.
That's weird. Yeah.
It was bizarre. And so it was just kind of off. The 5K was just kind of off this year, I think. But what was cool is when you go to the 10K, it was Rapunzel themed. Every character on the course was a princess, every single one. And like a legit princess. It was awesome. I got Merida. I got Pocahontas. We got Moana, Aurora. I mean, it was awesome. It was very cool. And then for the half, it was a good, healthy mix. I mean, it was tons of really cool characters.
I think I think it was last year. It must have been last year because last year they had a Marvel element. One of the races was Marvel themed, and so I remember seeing some Marvel characters on the course, which makes me happy. But I guess you guys didn't get any of those this year, huh?
No, we didn't have any Marvel this year, which was kind of a bummer. There was some like Jess and Buzz were there with Forky. There was Chip and Dale, and it was cool because a lot of them there was two, and so it would be like. Pocahontas was there with John Smith, and Anna was there with Kristoff, and Belle and the Beast. And so you kind of got, double bang for your buck when you were doing the characters in Paris.
Oh, that's fun. That is fun. All right. Which course did you like the best? Because you ran everything. So tell us the highs and lows of the courses. What did you like?
I ran it all. That half marathon is awesome. It's awesome. It's kind of broken up into 3 different segments, I would say. Your first segment is through the parks. Your second segment is through the quote unquote French countryside, which I'm sure to anybody that actually lives in Paris is like, it's a neighborhood. But for me, I'm like, this is amazing. Look at that playground. Look at these cottages. It was really cool. You kind of go back around the back end of property and through a little local area with some apartments. And then you come back through. And then the last bit of the race is through 2 of the resorts, Santa Fe and Cheyenne. Those are the value resorts that are a little bit further away from the exciting expo area. But you run through there and they're adorable. And then you kind of run around the rest of the resort area and you're back and finish in the park.
So you do finish in the park. Where was your finish? Where was your finish?
The finish line is in Walt Disney Studio. It's kind of, there's a little construction over there right now because it's right by where they're building Avenger Campus. But you kind of finish right there. And then you're funneled out pretty quickly. So it's not one of those like you can sneak and stay in the park. But it's right there. And then when you walk through to get all your medals and you finish everything, then by the time you're done with the whole process, you're outside of the park. But the actual finish line is, I believe, is from what I can remember, right there in the middle of the park.
That's cool. I love that. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Now you did parks and races while you were there. Yes. And I know you were really tired a lot of the time too. And guys, Sarah's never tired. Like Sarah's a go-go energizer bunny, but I'm guessing the jet lag plus all this running plus all the park time, no amount of coffee. And I know she tried. Sarah's a coffee addict. I know amount of coffee probably like pushed you. So you did both. So first of all, I want to hear quickly about the parks, like how much you loved the parks there versus here. And I know we're not going to compare. I just want to hear, did you enjoy RunDisney Paris? Because RunDisney Paris has had some negative press from the US peeps in the past. But I feel like the runners are a little bit more okay with RunDisney Paris. So I do want your take on that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so for the parks, I always laugh and say comparing Disney World to Disneyland is apples and oranges, which people roll their eyes at because it's the same, but it's not. Well, Disneyland Paris is a banana. Like it's its own other thing. I did not realize how much I would love those parks. They're incredible. The parks are phenomenal. They have a lot more to see and do and experience that are not attractions than other parks here in the US. Like the dragon underneath the castle. And there's like this whole area close to Pirates where you can explore these caves. Like there's just more, it's more immersive. It's more in depth than you get going through Fantasyland in Florida. Fantasyland in Paris is just, there's just more to take in, if that makes sense. And then when it comes to runDisney, it's the same name, but it's a totally different company. I didn't have any major expectations. I also lucked out though. My registration process was really easy. I had no issues. I got my links when I was told I would receive my links. I mean, everything worked out really fine. I had no need for runner relations. And so I didn't have to experience any of that. But I do know that everybody is helpful and will help when they can. So I think if you get a snag or, you run into an issue, just be patient and talk to them. It's a much smaller team. So it could take a little bit longer to get your question answered, but they're there to help. And any issue that you don't get resolved before the race can be resolved when you get there.
That's good. That's important. Is there anything that you would do differently, like on your trip? Would you stay longer? Would you show up earlier? Would you?
Yeah.
Like what? Sure. Yeah. Okay.
I would definitely stay longer. I would have absolutely stayed longer. I probably would have showed up a day or two in advance to hopefully get that jet lag out of the way. And then afterwards, when the races were over, I would have liked to stay a few more days. We had talked about maybe going into actual Paris, and it just didn't happen. We stayed at Disney the entire time. I would like to see actual Paris. So next time I'm hoping to make that happen. But that's what will probably change is just make the trip longer.
Yeah, that's what's hard with a runDisney race weekend, especially those dopey runners that you're locked into running so much that you sometimes don't get a chance to really experience outside of the race plus the parks. So like I get that, and I could see the same thing, kind of comparing a dopey experience with a runDisney Paris experience coming from the US because of the extra travel and the jet lag and the changes and all of that stuff. Like it just factors in. And so yes, you have to pick and choose or extend as much as you can to get as much as you can get in.
Yeah.
So
no, I would. Yeah. And I don't want to downplay the experience that we had. Like if you want to go, but you only have 4 nights, worth it. Like it's still 100%. You can do it. You will have a fantastic time. But if you have that option to extend it a little bit, then I would go for that as well.
Yeah. And that's a good point. It's not like your experience was amazing and incredible. It's just if you could do it over, you'd add an extra day on each end.
I needed more Disneyland. I did.
Hey, don't we all?
One thing that was kind of disappointing is right after the half marathon, it rained most of the afternoon. And so there was, 4 or 5 hours that we were hoping to explore the parks in, that it was just cold and rainy. And so we ended up just hanging out with friends and still had a great time. But I'm like, I wanted to be in the park for those. I wanted to ride Small World one more time. I wanted to...
Oh, and you mentioned cold and rainy. So touch base real quick. What's the weather like in September in Paris?
It's cold.
It was cold.
Guys, I felt like such an idiot. I didn't pay attention to the weather. I'm thinking Florida. I'm like, it's hot. Spring. Oh, it was so cold. I thought I was going to die waiting for the 10K to start. It was in the 50s, low 50s. It was cold.
Well, yeah. I mean, not really, but yes.
Well, when you're wearing like a sparkle skirt and a tank top and you're just sitting there, it was chilly. Once I got moving a little bit better, but I should have paid better attention and worn, sleeves.
Like perfect running weather once you're running.
Great.
It's just the waiting. Yeah, got it.
Marathon the next day was about 15 degrees warmer. It was absolutely perfect. And if I would have actually run, I may have had a new PR. I mean, that's how perfect the conditions were. And the course was built for it. But instead, we just kind of jacked around and took all the pictures and had all the fun.
Well, I'm all on board for that because you pay a lot for these races. Get your money's worth, peeps. All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to go and drool over Sarah's pictures again on Instagram because honestly, I'm a little obsessed with Run Disney Paris right now. And it really, it has been on my list of things to do, especially once they started the race weekends. So I got to try to make this happen. But for now, guys, don't forget to leave a review, throw up those 5 stars on Apple, and share this podcast with your friends, especially if you guys are interested in Run Disney or Run Disney Paris. We would love to talk about it more. So you can also hit us up and, let me know if you have any questions. I am at No Guilt Life on all social media, and you can find my blog at noguiltfangirl.com. We're on all the major podcast players. So if you do realize that we're not showing up somewhere, please let me know so I can make sure we get that added and taken care of. Thanks for fangirling with us, and we'll see you again real soon. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.